"You're perfect for paying bills," she said, smiling like it was a compliment, "but you're not the kind of man I can be seen building a life with." The room went quiet in that way it does when people pretend they didn't hear something sharp. I felt every eye turn toward me, waiting for a reaction. I didn't give them one. I just nodded once, set my drink down on the edge of the cocktail table, and took my jacket off the back of her chair like I'd come alone. She reached for my wrist like she'd said it by accident. "Babe." I stepped back, calm as if we were negotiating a delivery window, and said, "Enjoy your night, Talia." Then I walked out of the hotel ballroom without raising my voice, without slamming anything, without giving her a scene to feed on. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I'm not a dramatic guy. I'm the kind of guy who reads contracts before signing, who keeps a folder of receipts because it's easier than arguing, who sets reminders for oil changes. I work as a logistics planner for a regional medical supply distributor in Spokane, Washington. It's not glamorous, but it's stable. When hospitals need gloves, syringes, oxygen tubing, or a specific implant on short notice, we make sure it's there. My job is basically calm problem solving with real consequences. Talia was the opposite of me in the way people mistake for balance. She worked in PR and brand partnerships for a boutique fitness company that wanted to feel like a luxury lifestyle, not a gym. She knew everyone worth knowing, always had a new event, a new restaurant, a new circle. She could walk into a room and be immediately surrounded. She was magnetic. When we met, I thought her chaos was color. She thought my stability was safety. In the beginning, that sounded like love from both sides. We dated for almost 3 years. For most of that time, I believed we were building something, not the Instagram version, something real. We moved into a 2-bedroom townhouse rental about a year and a half in, both our names on the lease, split utilities. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable because I'm the kind of guy who budgets and she's the kind of girl who says, money comes back. The first red flag was small and easy to explain away. We'd be at dinner and she'd casually compare me to someone else, not directly. More like, "Oh my God, you should see the way Mark's boyfriend planned their anniversary. He hired a private chef." Then she'd glance at me like she was checking whether I took the hint. Or we'd go to her company's events and she'd introduce me with my job title like it was a warning label. "This is Ryan, he does logistics." Not, "This is my boyfriend." Not, "This is Ryan, he's the most dependable person I know." Just the job, like she wanted people to understand I wasn't part of the sparkle. Another time, one of her coworkers asked what kind of car I drove. I said, "A Tacoma," because I do, paid off, reliable. Talia laughed and said, "He's so practical." The way she said it made practical sound like a personality flaw. It got worse in little clips like that. She'd send me links to watches I didn't ask for, then say she was just showing me what she liked. She'd talk about moving somewhere that makes sense, which always meant a neighborhood with valet parking and a building lobby that smelled like expensive candles. She also had this habit of turning any boundary into an insecurity. If I said, "Hey, can we not spend $250 on a random Saturday brunch?" she'd say, "It's not about the money, it's about experience." If I asked why a certain guy was always in her DMs, she'd say, "You're not going to be one of those jealous boyfriends, are you?" And there was one name that kept floating around like a bad smell you can't find the source of. Evan. Evan was her ex, the one she described as intense and misaligned and not emotionally safe, but also somehow the one who still had access to her life like a key that never got returned. According to Talia, he was in finance in that vague way that could mean anything from a real job to selling dreams. The point was he had money, or at least looked like he did. The point was he belonged in her status world. Whenever Evan came up, it was always framed as harmless. "He liked my story, it's not a big deal. He's still friends with my friends, what do you want me to do? We were together for years, we're not strangers." I didn't tell her who to be friends with. I'm not her dad. I also don't do emotional hostage situations. I just watched patterns. The red flag montage, if I'm being honest, was months of little moments that all said the same thing. I was the infrastructure, the thing under her life that made it possible. When her car battery died in the Costco parking lot, Evan didn't show up. I did. When she got sick and missed work, Evan didn't bring soup. I did. When she panicked about a credit card bill she'd ignored, I sat down with her and made a payoff plan without shaming her. When her phone fell in a pool at a friend's place, I put her on my plan temporarily and ordered a replacement the same day because I had a work discount through our carrier. She loved how I handled problems. She didn't always love me. Still, I made a serious investment because I thought we were past the testing stage. Talia had been talking about wanting to be director level and how the company would take her more seriously if she had a certain certification for brand partnerships and negotiations. It wasn't cheap. The program cost a couple $1,000s plus travel for a weekend workshop in Seattle. She was stressed and kept saying she couldn't move forward without it, so I offered to cover it. Not with some grand speech, just logistics. I told her, if this is a real step for your career, I'm in. We can treat it like an investment. You pay me back over time if you want, but I'm not going to hold it over your head. She cried happy tears, hugged me like I'd saved her, said, nobody has ever believed in me like this. I paid for the program. I booked the hotel for her workshop. I even used my points to upgrade her room because she was nervous and I wanted her to feel confident. She came back glowing, posting photos in a blazer, sipping coffee, tagging mentors, doing that new chapter energy. 2 weeks later, she asked if I'd be her +1 to her company's big quarterly gala, black tie-ish, hotel ballroom, awards, speeches, networking. It mattered to her, so it mattered to me. I went, I rented a suit, I got my hair cut. I did the thing where you show up clean and supportive even if you'd rather be home with a movie and takeout. I told myself this was part of building a life with someone, showing up where they shine. At the gala, everything felt slightly off from the start. Talia was everywhere, smiling, hugging, laughing too loud. She introduced me to a few people but kept drifting away. I'd look up and see her across the room with a small cluster of men in sharp suits. One of them was older and clearly important. One of them was young and trying too hard, and one of them, Evan. I didn't recognize him at first because I'd only seen him in old photos. But then he turned and I saw the face, the grin, the way he leaned in too close when he spoke. He had that polished look, watch, shoes, hair, confidence like cologne. My stomach didn't drop, it just went still. I walked over slowly, not rushing, not storming. I waited until there was a natural pause, then I said, "Hey, Talia." She flinched like she'd forgotten I existed for a second, then she pasted on a smile. "Ryan, oh my God, you found me." Evan looked me up and down like he was checking a price tag. Talia did not introduce us, not right away. Finally she said, "This is Evan, we used to date," like that was a cute fun fact. Then to Evan, "This is Ryan." Just Ryan, no boyfriend, no partner, no context. Evan held out his hand. His grip was firm, practiced. "Heard a lot about you." I said, "Really? From who?" Talia laughed too fast. Okay, don't be weird." I wasn't being weird, I was asking a question. Evan smiled like it was a game. "From Talia, she says you're steady." That word again, steady, the polite version of boring, the version that means you're useful but not exciting. I let it go, not because it didn't bother me, but because I refused to fight in public like entertainment. Later, after dinner and speeches, there was dancing in a bar line and that warm, buzzing noise of people drinking expensive cocktails on someone else's budget. I went to find Talia. I spotted her near the side of the room by a tall table, Evan close to her, his hand on her lower back like he belonged there. I walked up and said quietly, "Can we talk for a minute?" She sighed, actually sighed, like I was an inconvenience. "What, right now?" "Yes, right now." Evan leaned back, smirking, like he was waiting for the show. Talia turned slightly so her body was angled away from me, toward Evan and the others at the table. Then she said the line, clear as glass. "You're perfect for paying bills, but you're not the kind of man I can be seen building a life with." The table went quiet. A couple people pretended to check their phones. Evan's smile widened like Christmas. I looked at Talia, not angry, not shocked, just done. Because in that one sentence, she said what I'd been trying not to hear for months. I nodded once, set my drink down, took my jacket, and left. In the elevator down to the lobby, my hands were steady. My heart was loud, but my body was calm. I've always been like that in a crisis. My job trained it into me. Panic wastes time. In the parking garage, I sat in my truck for a full minute before turning the key. Not to cry, not to scream, just to make a plan. When I got home, the townhouse was quiet. Her heels weren't by the door because she'd worn different ones. The kitchen smelled faintly like the candle she loved, expensive vanilla, and something smoky. I walked through each room like I was doing an inventory check. Then I saw it. On the entryway console table, right where we tossed mail and keys, was a small black envelope with the hotel's logo on it. Inside was a thick card sleeve. Talia must have dropped it there without thinking. It was a membership packet for a private lounge at Spokane International Airport, not the airline lounge, one of those paid clubs with concierge access and priority services. The symbol object in the packet was a sleek metal membership card with her name engraved. Talia had mentioned wanting lounge access because she hated regular people airports. I'd rolled my eyes internally, but whatever. But tucked behind the card was a printed receipt. Not for her membership. For two annual memberships paid in full. And the second name wasn't mine. It was Evan's. Right under hers. I didn't need to hack anything. I didn't need to snoop through her phone. It was printed, left out in my own home on the table we both used. Lawfully discovered, plain view. The receipt even had the last 4 digits of the card used. It was our joint card. The one we used for utilities and groceries. The one we both had access to. The one I paid into every month because I made more and it kept the household smooth. I stood there holding that receipt like it weighed 50 pounds. I didn't feel jealousy, I felt clarity. This wasn't a mistake. You don't accidentally buy your ex an airport lounge membership using your current boyfriend's household card. That's not a whoops, that's a choice. I took photos of the receipt and the membership names with my own phone, then I put everything back exactly how I found it. Not to trap her, just because I'm not a tornado. I don't destroy, I document. Then I sat at the kitchen table and did what I always do when something breaks. I made a checklist. Quiet exit starts with one calm line, and I already gave it to her at the gala by leaving. Now it was time for the part nobody sees on Instagram. At 7:12 a.m. the next morning, I sent Talia a text. Don't come home expecting a conversation. I saw enough. She called immediately. I let it ring out, not to punish her, because I needed to act before I got pulled into emotional quicksand. First, finances. I opened a new checking account in my name only, switched my direct deposit, changed the passwords on my personal accounts. I removed the joint card from my digital wallet and turned on transaction alerts. I didn't cancel the card yet. That can create chaos. I just locked my contribution down. Second, housing. Our lease was month to month after the first year, but there was still a 30-day notice requirement, plus terms about who was responsible if one person left. I pulled up the lease file from the folder on my laptop, not a secret folder, our shared household folder. I emailed the property manager, Denise, and asked for a meeting. Denise responded fast because she's the kind of adult I respect. Come by at 1 p.m., we'll go over your options. Third, possessions. I didn't do the dramatic thing where you dump clothes on the lawn. I started packing my own items, only my items. Clothes, books, my desk setup, my tools, my kitchen gear that I'd brought in. I labeled boxes. I took photos of common areas to document condition. Again, receipts, lawful, calm. By noon, my friend Marcus showed up with a stack of moving blankets, and that look guys get when they're trying to be supportive without saying too much. He saw the boxes and said, "You okay?" I said, "I'm focused." He nodded, "That's your version of okay." At 1 p.m., I met Denise in her office. I told her calmly that I needed to remove myself from the lease or end it, and that there was a relationship breakup involved. I didn't give her gossip, I gave her facts. Denise pulled up our account and explained the options. We could both sign a release with a new lease for one person, or we could give notice and pay through the required period. Either way, the security deposit issue would be handled after move-out inspection, and both tenants had to agree on distribution unless a court order said otherwise. I said if I give formal notice today that I'm vacating, and I pay my portion through the notice period, can you document that I'm not responsible for damages after my move-out date? Denise smiled slightly. You're very organized. I try to be. She said she could note it in the file and do a midterm inspection when I moved out to record condition. That mattered, because I wasn't going to be blamed for whatever emotional hurricane happened after. I got it in writing by email before I left the office. By that evening, I had a short-term rental lined up, furnished studio month to month. Not a romantic, starting over loft, just a clean place with a lock and quiet. I paid the deposit. I scheduled the move truck for Saturday morning. I didn't block Talia. Blocking is emotional. I muted her. Her spiral started in waves. First wave, denial. She texted, "What are you talking about? Are you mad about something Evan said? He's just a friend." Second wave, anger. When I didn't respond, she texted, "This is ridiculous. You left me at my biggest night. Do you know how that made me look?" That one almost made me laugh, but in a sad way. Not how it made me feel, how it made her look. Third wave, bargaining. She sent, "Come home, we can talk, I'll explain everything. I didn't mean what I said, I was drunk." I didn't reply. On Friday, she finally came home. I was there, but only because I needed to finish packing. I heard the front door slam and her heels hit the floor like gunshots. She walked into the living room and stopped when she saw boxes. Her face did something between confusion and offense, like I'd redecorated without asking. "Ryan, what is this?" I didn't raise my voice, I didn't point. I just held up my phone and showed her the photo of the receipt, 2 airport lounge memberships, her name, Evan's name, our joint card. Her mouth opened, then closed. She blinked fast. "That's not." I said, "Don't." She swallowed. "Okay, look, I was going to tell you." "When?" She threw her hands up. "Soon, after the gala. I didn't want you to ruin it with your mood." I stared at her and it hit me like a cold realization. She genuinely thought my role was to be quiet infrastructure while she lived whatever story she wanted. She stepped closer, softer now. "Evan travels a lot. He helped me with something. It was like a thank you." "With our cards." "It's a shared card. That I fund." She snapped, "Oh my God, you always do this. You always make it about spreadsheets." I didn't flinch. "You made it about being seen. You said it out loud in front of people." Her eyes flashed. I was frustrated. "No," I said, "you were honest." Then came the line I'd practiced in my head all week, the calm line that ends arguments. "I'm not doing this. I'm leaving." She tried to block my path, not physically, just with emotional chaos. "So you're just throwing 3 years away, over a card, over a sentence." I said, "Over a pattern." Then she went for the real weapon. "Where are you going to go? You can't just abandon our lease. Do you know what that will do to my credit?" I nodded. "That's why I spoke to Denise. I'm paying my part through the notice period. You can either take over the lease alone or give your own notice. You have options." Her face went pale because she realized I'd already handled the practical side, the things she relied on me for, the things she didn't think I could remove. "Denise," she whispered. "You talked to Denise." "Yes." She looked around at the boxes like the room had betrayed her. "This is insane." I kept my voice level. Insane is buying your ex a lounge membership with the household card and then telling me I'm not the kind of man you can be seen with. She had no comeback for that, just the same defense she always used. "You're being dramatic." I almost smiled because the irony was painful. I said, "I'm being logistical." Over the next 72 hours, I executed the clean move. Saturday morning, Marcus and my friend Selena, who had more backbone than most men I know, helped me load my things into the truck. I didn't take anything that wasn't mine. We left shared items alone. I left her cookware, her furniture, her decor, her coffee machine, her mirror with the ring light attached. I took my desk, my tools, my clothes, my books, my kitchen knives because those were mine, and my grandmother's cast iron pan because I'm not losing that in a breakup. Denise met us for the midterm inspection, walked through with a clipboard, noted the condition, took photos, emailed me the documentation right there. Professional, clean, lawful. I transferred the internet account out of my name with a scheduled end date. I moved my phone line off the shared plan. I canceled my share of the streaming services and left her access until the billing cycle ended because I wasn't trying to create chaos. I updated my address on my bank accounts, work HR, and the DMV. I removed my name from anything that didn't legally require joint action, and for what did, I documented my intent in writing. On Sunday night, I left one envelope on the kitchen counter addressed to Talia. Inside was a copy of the lease notice. a summary of what I'd paid and would pay through the notice period, and the short note. Find another foundation. 3 words would have been enough, but that was sharp and true without being violent. It wasn't a threat, it was a boundary. Then I left my key on the counter and walked out. That's the part people don't understand when they think quiet power is some macho fantasy. It's not. It's just refusing to argue with someone who benefits from your confusion. Once I was in the studio, the silence felt strange. No candle smell, no heels, no constant hum of her life, just me, my boxes, and the soft buzz of the fridge. That night, Talia's calls hit a new level. She didn't just call me, she called everyone. Her friend Lacey texted me first. You really embarrassed her. You could have handled that privately. I replied once, one sentence. She handled it publicly. Then I muted. Her coworker, some guy named Brent I'd met twice, DM'd me on Instagram. Bro, don't be like this. She's under pressure. I didn't respond. Then her mom emailed me. Actual email, not a text, like I was a company complaint department. Ryan, we are very disappointed in how you have treated Talia. She is heartbroken and confused. Please come talk to her like an adult. I stared at the email and felt something settle in me. Talia wasn't heartbroken, she was destabilized. Those are different things. Meanwhile, the status world she loved started failing her in exactly the way I knew it would. On Monday, our joint card pinged an alert, a late-night charge at a downtown hotel bar, then a ride share, then a concierge service charge I didn't recognize. I didn't accuse. I didn't interrogate. I locked my contribution to the joint account and emailed Talia that I would only be paying my agreed portion for lease and utilities through the notice period, and anything outside of that would not be covered. She called immediately. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, voice shaking. Ryan, please, I didn't realize how much you do. I'm drowning. Can you just help me fix this and then we can talk? There it was, not I miss you, not I'm sorry. Help me fix this. On Tuesday, Denise forwarded me an email chain where Talia had requested to remove Ryan from the lease immediately and have him still pay half. Denise, bless her, replied with policy language and copied me as required. Talia's response was angry, full of exclamation points, talking about abandonment and emotional distress. I didn't respond to her email. I replied to Denise only. I will continue paying my portion through the notice period as documented. Receipts, boundaries. The next public escalation came on Thursday. Talia posted a story on Instagram with a black screen and white text, when a man can't handle a woman leveling up. Then another, some men only love you when you're small. Then another with a champagne glass clinking someone else's new chapter. I watched it once, then closed the app, not because it hurt, because it was predictable. 2 hours later, Selena texted me, FYI, she's telling people you cheated. That was the first time I felt a real spike of anger. Not because I cared what strangers thought, but because lying to protect your image is a kind of violence people don't take seriously. It's character assassination done with glitter. I didn't respond publicly. I didn't post counter stories. I did something quieter and stronger. I emailed Talia, stop stating I cheated. It's false. If it continues, I will communicate through counsel only. No threats, just a boundary with a consequence. She called 5 times in a row. Then she texted, wow, you'd really lawyer me. I replied, I'd really protect myself. After that, her tone changed. Less rage, more panic. Because she realized my calm wasn't weakness, it was structure, and structure is what she lived on. A week later, the Evans situation collapsed in the most natural way possible. She showed up at my studio unannounced on a Saturday morning, not pounding, not screaming, just standing outside the building like she'd rehearsed looking sad. I didn't let her in. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. She looked thinner, tired, like someone who hasn't slept because they keep refreshing their phone hoping life will fix itself. Can we talk? She asked. I said, we are talking. Her eyes filled. She tried the soft voice. I messed up, I know. I was caught up in everything. I didn't argue, okay. She blinked like she expected me to comfort her. I need you, she said, and then corrected herself too late. I mean, I miss you. I kept my face neutral. What happened with Evan? Her mouth tightened. He's not who I thought. I waited. She exhaled. He said he'd help me cover the rent if you left. He said it was nothing. Then he disappeared. He won't answer. He blocked me after I asked him to put something in writing. I almost felt bad. Almost. Then I remembered the receipt with his name on it. She hugged herself. I can't afford the townhouse alone. I'm going to have to move. I said, you have 30 days. You'll figure it out. Talia's face cracked. How can you be so cold? That question told me everything. Because she thought calm boundaries were cruelty. She thought anything that didn't serve her feelings was an attack. I said, I'm not cold. I'm done. She reached for my hand. I didn't pull away sharply. I just didn't offer it. I didn't mean what I said at the gala, she whispered. I said, you meant it enough to say it. She cried real tears. I was embarrassed. I felt like everyone was judging me. I wanted to look like I belonged. And I didn't help you look like that, I said. She nodded, crying harder. You don't understand how it feels. I said, I do understand. I just don't respect it. She wiped her face, angry now because the pity didn't work. So that's it. You're just going to walk away and act like you're better than me. I said, I'm not better. I'm just not available. Then I went back inside, not slamming the door, just closing it. I thought that was the end. It was. 2 weeks later, I ran into her at the one place I should have expected, the airport. Spokane's airport isn't huge. You see familiar faces. I was there early for a work trip, medical supplies conference, nothing glamorous. I had a backpack and a coffee. I was standing near security, scrolling through my boarding pass. That's when I heard my name like a prayer and a warning at the same time. Ryan. I looked up. Talia was walking toward me fast, dragging a roller bag. Her makeup was done, but her eyes were red like she'd cried in a bathroom and tried to fix it with concealer. Around her neck was that same sleek membership card on a lanyard, like a badge of who she wanted to be. For a second, I wondered if she'd come here on purpose. Then I realized Spokane is small enough that life does this sometimes. She stopped in front of me, breathing hard. Please, just 2 minutes. People moved around us with their carry-ons and their noise-canceling headphones, living their own lives. Public place, perfect for a final confrontation without drama. I said 2 minutes. Her voice shook. I'm moving out. I'm going to my sister's in Bend for a while. I hate that it ended like this. I didn't respond. She swallowed. I know you think I only miss what you do for me, but I do miss you. I miss the way you handle things. I miss coming home and knowing everything is okay. There it was again, not love, safety, infrastructure. I watched her for a moment, then I said the boundary line I'd carried for weeks, the one that wasn't cruel, just true. You don't get access to my stability anymore. Her face crumpled. Ryan. I lifted a hand slightly, not aggressive, just a stop sign. I hope you figure out what you actually want, but you already told me what you needed from me, and it wasn't love. Talia's eyes darted around like she wanted someone to tell her she was the victim, but strangers don't care. Airports are full of endings. She whispered, I'm sorry. I nodded once. I believe you're sorry. Her hope flickered, then. I finished calmly, and I'm still leaving. She stood there for a second like she didn't know what to do without a script that worked. Then she turned and walked toward the lounge entrance, shoulders tight, dragging her suitcase like it was heavier than it should be. I watched her go, and I didn't feel victorious. I felt clean, like stepping out of a storm into dry air. On the plane, I looked out the window as the city got smaller. I thought about how many times I'd tried to be enough for someone who wanted a different audience. I thought about how calm doesn't mean weak, and boundaries don't mean bitter. When I got back from the trip, my studio felt like home in a way the townhouse never did. Quiet, simple, mine. I've started running in the mornings, cooking actual meals instead of eating whatever was fastest between her events. I've been seeing friends I used to reschedule because Talia had something last minute. Peace is underrated until you've had it taken from you. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this. If someone loves your infrastructure more than your heart, they'll always treat you like a utility. and utilities are only noticed when they stop working. Thanks for watching.